good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're joining from. This is Alvin, your voice from Green Ground. Settle in for a moment. Picture us sharing a perfectly brewed coffee, steam curling into the air, as we take in the stories shaping our world right now. The news today feels less like a bulletin and more like a living novel, full of audacious moves, quiet emergencies, and the fragile human threads binding it all together. Let's step into it. Just before dawn in Caracas, the night fractured. The sky filled with the thunder of more than 150 aircraft as an operation known as Absolute Resolve unfolded with surgical speed. U.S. Special Forces moved into the Venezuelan capital, and, within hours, President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores were taken into custody. Explosions rippled through districts like La Guaira, Baruta, and El Hatillo around 2 a.m. Power faltered in parts of southern Caracas. Jets skimmed rooftops. A city that had gone to sleep in uneasy calm woke up at the center of the world's attention. Hours later, President Trump stood before cameras and declared that the United States would temporarily oversee the country to ensure a safe transition, even floating the possibility of troop deployments. He spoke of outreach to Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, who reportedly replied with stark pragmatism, "We'll do whatever you need." Maduro now faces trial in the United States on charges tied to narco-terrorism, the culmination of months of mounting pressure. Yet the reaction has been anything but unanimous. The UN Secretary General warned that this action sets a dangerous precedent, bypassing congressional approval and straining the boundaries of international law. Advocacy groups denounced it as a return to gunboat diplomacy, arguing that it risks igniting unrest and alienating allies. The moment feels like a grandmaster knocking a king off the board, decisive, dramatic, and unsettling. The question everyone is asking is simple and enormous. What comes next? While that shockwave spreads, the quieter machinery of diplomacy continues to turn. The UN Security Council has just welcomed 5 new rotating members, a reminder that even as unilateral actions dominate headlines, multilateral dialogue presses on. These nations now shoulder the responsibility of navigating conflicts old and new, trying patiently to stitch stability back into a fraying global order. From the chambers of diplomacy, our gaze shifts to Gaza, where winter has arrived with cruel timing. Storms have torn through displacement camps, shredding tents and leaving families exposed to bitter cold. Aid workers are racing against both weather and scarcity, doing what they can as uncertainty settles heavily over daily life. These are the moments when headlines become faces, parents shielding children from the wind, communities clinging to resilience in conditions no one should endure. Another warning from the UN carries a different kind of urgency. Every 2 minutes, somewhere in the world, a woman dies from cervical cancer. It is a quiet, relentless toll. The stories emerging now focus on prevention, on lives saved through early detection, vaccines, and routine screenings. Behind every statistic is a mother, a daughter, a friend. The message is clear and deeply human. Awareness saves lives, but only if we're willing to talk about it. In Kiev, a different kind of intensity fills the air. National security advisors have convened for talks that could lay the groundwork for a future leaders' summit on peace. These discussions may not make dramatic footage, but they matter. They are the slow, careful conversations where history often pivots, where possibilities are tested against reality. The cost of delay is painfully visible. Russia reports 27 people killed in a Ukrainian drone strike on a cafe in Kherson, another reminder of how ordinary places become targets in protracted conflict. At the same time, UN human rights officials are urging Israel to abandon proposals introducing the death penalty for Palestinians, calling for restraint amid escalating measures. These are not abstract debates. They are lives interrupted, families altered forever. Farther east, Myanmar stands at a crossroads. Early election results suggest a lead for a military-backed party, a development watched closely by a population long caught between unrest and the hope for stability. Once again, the ballot box becomes a test, not just of power, but of trust. When you step back, the world feels like an orchestra tuning up, clashing notes from Caracas, steady percussion from UN halls, somber strings from Gaza, and sharp, urgent calls from health advocates. The operation in Venezuela looms large, its repercussions already spreading. Grounded flights, embassy warnings, competing narratives of liberation and illegality. Will the promised transition unfold smoothly, or will this moment ignite something far larger? Beneath all of it runs a single current, the human pulse. Families bracing against winter storms, women spared or lost to a preventable disease, advisors in Kiev drafting fragile blueprints for peace, voters in Myanmar weighing hope against fear. None of these stories exist in isolation. Together, they form the texture of 2026, asking something of us: attention, empathy, and judgment. If this reflection stirred a thought about power, compassion, or the choices shaping our future, let me know. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more daily conversations like this. You'll find deeper context and resources in the description. I'm curious to hear what's on your mind. Until next time, stay curious and stay connected. This is Alvin from Green Ground.